What would you do if the girl you carried up 3 flights of stairs every single day turned out to be the most powerful being in the universe? Ethan Parker was about to find out, and it would change everything he thought he knew about kindness, power, and what it truly means to see someone. The morning it all began was in remarkable September rain turning the world gray, students rushing past with umbrellas. The usual chaos of Lincoln High except for one thing, the silver-haired girl in the wheelchair, watching him with eyes that seemed to hold starlight. Her name was Lyra, and she'd transferred in 3 weeks ago. And from day one, Ethan noticed what everyone else pretended not to see: the building had no elevator. And her first class was on the 3rd floor. He watched that first day as she sat in her sleek, hovering wheelchair at the bottom of the stairs, chin lifted with fierce pride while students streamed past, some staring, most looking away quickly, all of them doing nothing. Something in Ethan's chest tightened, that same feeling he got when he saw injustice, when things weren't right and everyone just accepted it. So he'd walked up to her, this impossibly beautiful girl with platinum hair that caught light like liquid metal, skin that seemed to have the faintest luminescent quality, and those ears delicately pointed at the tips, the only thing that marked her as one of the Tauri, the alien refugees who'd been settling on Earth for the past 5 years after their homeworld was destroyed. "Need a hand?" he'd asked, trying to sound casual, not like his heart was hammering. She'd looked at him with those incredible violet eyes, assessment and suspicion flickering across features that could have been carved from marble, perfect and cold. "I don't need pity," she'd said, voice accented with something musical, something not quite human. "Good thing I'm not offering any," Ethan had replied. "But I am offering a ride up these stairs because whoever designed this school was an idiot who didn't think about accessibility." The corner of her mouth had twitched, almost a smile. "You're stronger than you look, human boy," he'd grinned. "Let's find out." That was 3 months ago. And now it was routine every morning at 7:45. Ethan would meet Lyra at the front entrance, and she would deactivate her wheelchair's hover function, and he would lift her, one arm under her knees, one supporting her back, and carry her up those 3 flights while her wheelchair followed on autonomous mode. She weighed almost nothing, felt almost fragile in his arms, though he'd learned quickly that fragile was the last word anyone should use for Lyra. She was sharp, brilliant, with a wit that could cut, and a laugh that sounded like music from a world he'd never seen. They'd become friends somehow, despite her walls and his persistent chipping away at them. She never talked about her past, about what happened to her legs, about her family, except to say they were far away. Ethan never pushed. He figured everyone had their secrets, their pain they weren't ready to share. What mattered was now the conversations during those daily carries, the way she'd started smiling more, the inside jokes, the comfortable silences. What mattered was that when he looked at her, he didn't see a disabled alien girl. He saw Lyra, who dominated their astrophysics class, who had strong opinions about Earth coffee terrible and Earth music surprisingly acceptable, who watched people with an intensity that sometimes seemed sad, like she was looking for something she'd lost. He didn't know he was falling in love with her, or maybe he did, and just wouldn't admit it. Because what could someone like him offer someone like her, someone who carried herself with unconscious regality, who sometimes looked at the stars with an expression of such longing it hurt to witness? Everything changed on a Tuesday that started like any other. Ethan carried Lyra up the stairs, her arms around his neck, her breath soft against his cheek. "You don't have to keep doing this, you know," she said quietly, like she did every few weeks, testing him. "I know," he replied, like always. "What if I want to? Why?" The question was different this time, weighted with something new. He stopped at the 2nd floor landing, looking down at her, really looking, and the words came out before he could stop them. "Because when I'm with you, everything makes sense. Because you make me want to be better." Because he stopped, realizing what he was about to say, how it would sound. Her eyes were wide, searching his face. Because you matter to me, Lyra. You matter a lot." Something crossed her expression: shock, hope, fear, and something else he couldn't name. She opened her mouth to respond when the explosion ripped through the floor above them. The building shook, students screaming, alarms blaring, and Ethan's instincts kicked in: protect her, get her safe. He held Lyra tighter, turning his body to shield her from falling debris, and her wheelchair zipped to their side immediately. "We have to go now," she commanded, And there was something different in her voice, something commanding, powerful. He set her in the wheelchair and they moved, racing down the stairs as students panicked around them. Another explosion, this one closer, and through the smoke, Ethan saw them figures in dark armor, holding weapons that definitely weren't from Earth, moving with military precision. They were searching for something. No, someone. There. The princess. One of them shouted, and Ethan's brain stuttered on that word princess. Before Lyra's wheelchair surged forward with impossible speed, her hand grabbing his. Stay with me, she said. Trust me, Ethan. He ran, hand in hers, questions exploding in his mind like those bombs behind them. They burst through a side exit into the parking lot, and Lyra's wheelchair stopped abruptly. She pressed something on her wrist, a bracelet he'd thought was just jewelry, and spoke in a language of liquid syllables, beautiful and commanding. The air shimmered, reality bent, and suddenly there were more figures, but these were different, tall, armored in white and silver, moving to intercept the attackers with fluid grace. And standing before them, materializing from nothing, was a woman who made Lyra's beauty seem like a dim echo. She was tall, regal, dressed in clothing that seemed woven from starlight itself, with the same platinum hair, the same luminescent skin, the same pointed ears, but eyes that held galaxies, power radiating from her like heat from a sun. Mother, Lyra whispered, and Ethan's world tilted. The woman, Lyra's mother, surveyed the scene with calm authority, raising one hand. The attacking forces simply stopped, frozen in place by some invisible power. You are far from your jurisdiction, Krull assassins, she said, voice carrying effortlessly. And you have made a grave error attacking my daughter on a protected world, she gestured. And they vanished, just blinked out of existence, teleported somewhere Ethan didn't want to imagine. Then those cosmic eyes turned to him, and Ethan felt assessed, measured, seen through completely. So, Lyra's mother said, a slight smile playing at her lips. This is the human boy my daughter speaks of in every communication. The one who carries her each day. Ethan's mind was reeling. Communications? He looked at Lyra, who had the grace to look embarrassed. Mother, please, I am Empress Celestia of the Tauri Ascendancy, the woman continued, ignoring her daughter's protest. Ruler of the Galactic Council, protector of 7,000 worlds, guardian of the Star Throne, she paused. And I have been very curious about the young man who showed my daughter kindness when she had nothing, expected nothing, and offered nothing in return. The world felt unreal, like Ethan had stepped into someone else's life. Empress, Galactic Council, princess. The words rattled around his skull, refusing to connect to the girl he knew, the girl he'd carried upstairs, who struggled with calculus and loved terrible Earth action movies, and had started bringing him coffee the way he liked it, without asking. I don't understand, he managed. Lyra's wheelchair moved closer to him, and when she took his hand, hers was trembling. I'm sorry, she said softly. I'm sorry I lied, or didn't tell you. Or it's complicated. When my daughter was injured in the attack that destroyed our homeworld, Empress Celestia said, her voice, gentler now, she lost the use of her legs. Our best healers tried everything, but some wounds go deeper than flesh. The neural damage was catastrophic. She moved closer, and despite her power, despite everything, there was a mother's pain in her eyes. She became angry, isolated. She pushed everyone away. When she asked to come to Earth, to live as a normal student, to have 1 year away from being the crown princess of the Tauri, away from the expectations and the pity and the political maneuvering, I agreed, hoping she might find some peace. I found more than peace, Lyra said, looking up at Ethan, and his heart stopped at the emotion in her eyes. I found someone who saw me, not the princess, not the disabled girl, not the alien or the refugee, just me. Lyra, you carried me because it was the right thing to do. And you kept carrying me because you wanted to. And you never asked for anything, never expected anything. And you have no idea how rare that is in my world. Lyra, Ethan started, but she wasn't finished. Every day, I wanted to tell you. Every conversation, every moment, I wanted you to know the truth. But I was terrified that if you knew who I was, what I was, everything would change. You'd see the crown instead of me. She laughed, bitter and sad. And now you know, and I'm going to lose you anyway. Something fierce and certain bloomed in Ethan's chest. He knelt down, bringing himself to her eye level, not caring that an empress who ruled galaxies was watching, not caring about anything except the girl in front of him, who thought she was about to lose him. "You really think I care about any of that?" he asked. "The titles, the power, the politics, Lyra. That's not why." He stopped, swallowed, found his courage. "I didn't fall for a princess. I fell for the girl who argued with me about whether Star Wars or Star Trek was better, who corrected our astrophysics teacher when he got pulsar mechanics wrong, who pretended not to like the terrible Earth poetry I sent her, but quoted it back to me later." Her eyes were shining now, tears threatening. "You fell for me?" "Completely," Ethan said, hopelessly. "The fact that your mom apparently owns the galaxy is terrifying, but it doesn't change how I feel about you. It doesn't change that every morning, carrying you up those stairs is the best part of my day. It doesn't change that you matter to me more than." He never got to finish because Lyra pulled him forward, and then they were kissing, and the world could have ended and Ethan wouldn't have noticed. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Empress Celestia was smiling. "Well," she said, amusement rich in her voice, "this is unexpected. A human boy who values my daughter for herself, who serves without seeking reward, who loves without agenda." She studied Ethan with new intensity. "Tell me, Ethan Parker, what do you know of the old Tauri customs?" "Nothing, Your Majesty," Ethan admitted, still holding Lyra's hand like a lifeline. The Empress's smile widened. "In our oldest traditions, before empires and councils, before we reached for the stars, there was a belief that the truest measure of character was service without expectation, that those who gave freely, who lifted others expecting nothing in return, carried the soul of leadership." She gestured, and images appeared in the air, holographic, beautiful, showing alien worlds, vast fleets, cities of light. "When my daughter came to Earth, I placed protective details in secret, watchers to ensure her safety. Do you know what they reported?" Ethan shook his head, overwhelmed. "That every day, you carried my daughter up 3 flights of stairs. That you defended her when others spoke unkindly. That you treated her as an equal, a friend, then something more, never as something broken or lesser. That you shared your lunch when she forgot hers, stayed late to help her study Earth history, walked her home when it rained, even though it took you an hour out of your way. That you saw her, Ethan Parker, truly saw her." Lyra's hand tightened in his. "Mother, what are you saying?" "I'm saying that I approve," Celestia replied simply. "I'm saying that in 300 years of life, I have seen countless beings seek my daughter's favor, her hand, her connection to power. And in 3 months, a human boy, with no knowledge of who she was, showed more genuine care, more true devotion, than all of them combined." She waved her hand and the scene around them changed. They were no longer in a school parking lot but somewhere else, somewhere beautiful. A garden under stars Ethan didn't recognize, with flowers that glowed softly, trees that sang in the wind. "This is the royal garden of memory," Celestia said, "where we honor those who changed our path." She looked at Ethan directly. "You changed my daughter's path. You gave her hope when she had none, friendship when she expected isolation, and love when she thought herself unworthy of it." "I was always worthy," Lyra said suddenly, fiercely. "I just forgot for a while." She looked at Ethan. "You reminded me." The Empress nodded, approval in her eyes. "Indeed. Which is why, Ethan Parker, I offer you a choice." The air shimmered, and suddenly Ethan felt the weight of possibilities, of futures branching. "You may return to your life, to your school and your world. My daughter will return with me, resume her duties as crown princess, and you will part with good memories. We can adjust your memories if you wish, make this easier." "No," Ethan and Lyra said simultaneously. Celestia's smile was knowing. "Or you may choose a different path, learn our ways, our culture. Stand beside my daughter, not as a consort or political tool, but as yourself, the human who saw her truly. It will not be easy. There will be those who object, who see humans as lesser, who cannot understand. You will face challenges, dangers, politics that make Earth seem simple. But you will face them together." Ethan didn't hesitate. "I choose her. I'll always choose her." Lyra's face broke into the most beautiful smile he'd ever seen, radiant and joyful and free. "You're sure? You're giving up a normal life, Ethan? College, career, everything you planned?" "Plans change," Ethan said, pulling her closer. "Besides, how many guys can say they're dating a princess?" "You're an idiot," Lyra laughed, tears streaming down her face. "You're idiot," Ethan replied. Empress Celestia watched them with satisfaction. "Then it is settled. But know this, Young human, I am not just giving you my daughter's hand in courtship. I am giving you responsibility. There are ancient laws, old magics woven into our bloodline. The one who stands with the heir must prove themselves worthy, not just to me, but to our people, our traditions. She raised her hand, and light gathered there, silver and gold intertwined. This will hurt, she warned, then pressed the light to Ethan's chest. Pain exploded through him, but not destructive, transformative. He felt something ancient and vast flowing into him, rewriting parts of him at a fundamental level. He saw flashes of Tauri history, felt the weight of their knowledge, their culture, their power. And underneath it all, a connection forming, bright and unbreakable, linking him to Lyra like a golden thread. When it ended, he was gasping, on his knees, and Lyra was there, holding him, her own tears falling. "What did you do?" she demanded of her mother. "What we do for all who join our bloodline by choice rather than birth," Celestia replied calmly. "I gave him the gift of understanding. He now carries Tauri knowledge, can speak our languages, understand our ways. And I forged the beginning bond between you, not marriage, not yet, but a promise recognized by our people. A foundation to build upon." She knelt, bringing herself to their level, this Empress of Galaxies. "But more than that, I gave him a chance. In 1 year, when Lyra's time on Earth ends, there will be a choosing ceremony. The Tauri court will gather, and they will test him, his worthiness, his dedication, his strength. If he passes, he will stand beside you as recognized consort to be, Lyra. If he fails, he won't fail," Lyra said fiercely. "I have faith," Celestia agreed, "but faith must be tested. Such is our way." She stood, power radiating from her once more. "For now, you have 1 year. 1 year to be students, to be young and foolish and in love. 1 year before the galaxy's eyes turn to you both. Use it wisely." The garden shimmered, and they were back in the parking lot, emergency vehicles arriving, teachers ushering students to safety. The attack might as well have been a dream, except for the scorch marks on the building. "I have erased the memories of this incident from everyone except you," Celestia said. "As far as they know, it was a gas leak quickly contained. No one was hurt." She looked at her daughter. "I will visit again in 3 months. Until then, your guardians will be more visible, more vigilant. No more attacks will reach you." She turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and Ethan? My daughter's birthday is in 2 weeks. Tauri tradition involves star singing and memory wine, but I suspect she'd prefer something more human. Don't disappoint me." Then she was gone, vanished like she'd never been. And Ethan and Lyra were alone in the chaos, still holding hands. "So," Ethan said, after a moment, "your mom owns the galaxy, technically rules it through the Galactic Council." "But yes, essentially," Lyra replied. "And you're a princess, crown princess specifically, only heir to the Tauri Ascendancy. And in a year, I have to pass some kind of test or lose you. Ancient trials that have broken strong warriors." "Yes." They looked at each other and started laughing, slightly hysterical, overwhelmed by the absolute insanity of the situation. "This is crazy," Ethan managed. "Completely insane," Lyra agreed. "I'm just a kid from Seattle who's good at physics and plays mediocre guitar. I'm a disabled alien princess, with more political enemies than friends, and the weight of civilizations on my shoulders. We're probably going to fail spectacularly at this, almost certainly." Ethan cupped her face gently, thumb brushing away a remaining tear. "Want to try anyway?" Lyra's smile was worth galaxies. Yes, I really do." They kissed again, softer this time, a promise rather than a revelation, and Ethan felt that golden thread between them pulse with warmth. When they finally returned to the crowd, to the concerned teachers and curious students, no one looked at them strangely. Whatever Celestia had done, it worked. Life resumed as normal, or as normal as it could be. But everything had changed. Over the next weeks, Ethan learned what it meant to love a princess in hiding. The guardians Lyra's mother mentioned became visible to him now, figures that blended into crowds, always watching, always present. Lyra opened up about her past, about the attack that destroyed her world, killed millions, left her unable to walk, about the survivor's guilt, the pressure of being the symbol of her people's endurance, about the loneliness of never knowing if people wanted her or her status. "With you," she said one night, sitting together under Earth's stars, "I never had to wonder. You wanted me when I was nothing to you." "That's everything, Ethan," her birthday came, and Ethan didn't try to compete with star singing or alien traditions. He took her to a quiet hilltop outside the city, brought a telescope he'd borrowed, and showed her constellations while playing guitar and singing terribly. She laughed until she cried, and told him it was the best birthday she'd ever had. "I love you," she said, the first time either of them had spoken the words aloud. "I love you too," he replied. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." The year passed in a blur of beautiful, mundane moments mixed with glimpses of the extraordinary. Ethan studied Tauri culture through the knowledge Celestia had given him, learning their history, their customs, their complex political landscape. Lyra taught him their martial arts modified for her wheelchair, beautiful and deadly in their meditation techniques. He taught her to appreciate terrible Earth movies and the perfect ratio of marshmallows and hot chocolate. They went to prom together, and if her dress seemed to shimmer with impossible light and his suit fit a bit too perfectly, thanks to Tauri technology, no one mentioned it. They graduated top of their class, Lyra giving a valedictorian speech about finding home in unexpected places that made half the audience cry. And through it all, Ethan carried her up those stairs every single day. Even when she protested, she could use her wheelchair's hover function, because it was their ritual, their time, the thing that started everything. "You know," Lyra said one morning near the end, "my mother could heal my legs now. The neural damage, she has access to technology, to healing methods that could restore them." Ethan stopped mid-step, looking down at her. "Why doesn't she?" "Because I asked her not to," Lyra replied softly. "These injuries are part of me now, part of my story. I've learned to be whole as I am. Maybe someday I'll choose differently, but right now I don't need to be fixed, Ethan. I just need to be loved as I am. Always," he promised. That's always been the deal. The last day of school arrived with summer sunshine and bittersweet farewells. Ethan carried Lyra down the stairs for the final time, both of them silent, feeling the weight of endings and beginnings. At the bottom, Empress Celestia was waiting, visible this time, and students gaped and whispered, because even without knowing who she was, her presence commanded awe. "It is time," she said gently. "Time for you both to come home, to face what awaits." Ethan looked at his parents, who stood nearby. They'd been told everything a month ago, in a meeting he'd never forget. His mother had cried, his father had tried to argue, but in the end, they'd seen his determination, his love, and given their blessing. "Make us proud," his mother said, hugging him tight. "I'll try," Ethan promised. Celestia raised her hand, and a ship decloaked above them, massive, beautiful, organic curves mixed with crystalline structures, hovering impossibly. "Your chariot awaits," she said, with a slight smile. "The Galactic Council has gathered. In 3 days, you will face the trials of worthiness, Ethan Parker. 3 tests of courage, wisdom, and heart. Pass them, and you will stand beside my daughter as recognized consort to be. Fail, and I won't fail," Ethan said firmly. "He won't fail," Lyra echoed, gripping his hand. Celestia's eyes softened. "No, I don't believe he will. After all, he's already passed the most important test. He loved my daughter when he had every reason not to, when she offered him nothing but her true self. That young human is the rarest courage of all." As they walked toward the ship's boarding light, Ethan felt the eyes of his classmates, his teachers, his world on him. A human boy about to leave Earth for the stars, for trials and tests and a future he couldn't fully imagine. But Lyra's hand was in his, warm and certain, and that golden thread between them hummed with strength. "Scared?" she asked quietly. "Terrified," he admitted. "Good," she said, smiling. "Me too. But Ethan, whatever happens in those trials, whatever the council throws at you, you've already won. You gave me myself back. You gave me hope. Everything else is just details." "Just details," he repeated, liking the sound of that. "Think you can carry me one more time?" Lyra asked as they reached the boarding platform. "When we step onto that ship, everything changes. But right now, right here, could we have one more moment of just being us?" Ethan didn't answer, just lifted her gently, her arms around his neck, her head resting against his shoulder. He carried her up the ramp, into the ship, into their future, while Empress Celestia watched with a mother's pride, and Earth fell away behind them. The stars were waiting. The trials were coming. A galaxy of challenges and wonders stretched ahead. But in that moment, Ethan Parker was just a boy carrying the girl he loved. And that was enough. That was everything. And somewhere in the vastness of space, in councils and courts, in the places where power gathered and politics played, word spread the human who won a princess's heart without knowing her worth, who carried her expecting nothing, who loved her for herself alone. The boy who might just prove that worthiness isn't about power or status or strength, but about seeing someone truly and choosing them anyway, every single day, 3 flights of stairs at a time. The story was just beginning.